Hi guys, hope you're doing well. This video is going to be a prophecy update. I've been trying to do these periodically just as uh, important news comes available that I think is, you know, relevant to biblical prophecy, and not, you know, try to do one when it's just overblown and try to make everything into it. So, but this is actually really important. I think this is one that really is, for whatever reason, really hasn't been picked up by a lot places, but I think a lot of people are just in the wait and see mode, and that's why they don't want to come out and look like kooks or something. But something definitely for us to take a look at as Christians. We need to be aware of this, so that's why I'm doing this video. Got a working title in my brain right now, but we'll see what I finally do it as. But basically, what working title right now is going to be disclosure or deception. It's kind of the working title that I'm working at right now. But basically, what took place this week was pretty interesting. There was a Pentagon, or at least a Pentagon official of some sort, came out, New York Times, and basically said that they made a statement that was pretty amazing. So anyway, it was picked up by Fox News and some other people, but I got Fox News here. I'm going to just play so you can hear the audio. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this, come through. But yeah, it's very short, so then we'll do some commentary afterwards.
This is a Fox News alert. There are new findings tonight in the search for extraterrestrial life. The New York Times reporting that a secretive Pentagon unit tasked with investigating UFO sightings is quite likely releasing some of its findings soon. And those findings could be stunning, particularly for people who have doubted the existence. The Pentagon has been conducting classified hearings on UFOs for more than a decade. We know very little about what they've found. But apparently, just recovered are off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. That's a direct quote. We're not exactly sure what they mean by that, but some of it's self-evident. So it's a big story, and we are scouring through the reporting on it right now. We'll bring you much more right here tomorrow night.
Yeah, so, you hear something like that, and it should be a wake-up call to everybody on planet Earth, but particularly to Christians. The next logical step for non-believers would be to basically say, see there, now you need to question everything. Now you need to question the whole ideal of Christ coming and dying for humanity. Did he die for aliens too? And this whole thing, and there's people who's done excellent work on this. So there's a lot of this out there. So I basically would be building on these type people. So, but it is out there. I think this is interesting how it's all falling into place at a perfect time in prophetically speaking in history, when we see so many other prophetic events taking place, i.e. the national alignments of Gog Magog, primarily what we see happening with Russia, Turkey, Iran, Libya, these kind of things, all falling perfectly in place, just as other events are taking place as well. You have Israel, who, with this discovery of natural gas, massive natural gas fields, and that they're now, I think it was this last week, actually, I think it was the court in Israel basically allows for the movement or further process of running a pipeline through Cyprus on up into Greece and then into Europe. Ultimately, that's going to really cut into the economic lifeline of Russia, and it would dramatically affect the plans of Erdogan, who I think believes he's some type of new Ottoman ruler or something, but that's definitely seems to be what's taking place there. And he even has this agreement that he came out with, this agreement that is an agreement with Libya to basically seal off all the Mediterranean there and call that an economic area controlled by Turkey and so forth, even harassing French ships and so forth. Well, that is pretty dramatic when you think about it, because it's the ideal is to cut off that pipeline. That's basically why he did that, and why he sent troops into Libya, We have Russia sending troops into Libya. Now you have Egypt threatening to go into Egypt. While America's kind of standing back and saying, hey, what's going on here? Let's just all be calm and doing no political thing, because we're so entrenched and preoccupied with so many economic things that are economic and domestic things happening, with the whole Black Lives Matter and Antifa and the tearing down of statues and, just the insanity that's taking place primarily from the left, with their insanity and stupidity, in so many ways. So these events, I think, are playing perfectly into the hands of the end times event scenario, where we could directly see a Gog-Magog war take place very soon. But one of these things would be also that we'd be looking for is, a lot of Christians have always had this question, is how do you get the whole world to worship a person? The Antichrist comes on the scene. He declares himself to be God. He goes to the temple and declares himself to be God. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 4. That kind of falls perfectly in where we're going. So in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 11 and 12, this is going to be our primary focus on those two verses. And basically it says, for this reason, God will send upon them a deluding influence so that they will believe what is false, in order that they all may be judged who did not believe the truth, but took pleasure in wickedness. So I think what we're seeing is that possibly that could be that deluding influence, that false sign, wonder that takes place. This Antichrist figure who comes on the scene may profess himself or claim to have connection to some kind of extra-dimensional beings, or another planet, another solar system, whatever it is, whatever that lie is, it'll be grandiose, and it'll be enough to that people will believe it. It sounds like God himself will send this delusion upon mankind, that a deluding influence that allows them to fall for this lie. And this could very well be that lie, because if you think about it, and we've always kind of, as Christians, kicked this around, it's like what we cause a billion Muslims, supposedly a billion Muslims, I don't know if there's actually that many, but a billion Muslims, and supposedly a billion Christians or Catholics and pseudo Christians and so forth, that false converts that you see in Protestant churches and so forth. And then you get into Buddhists and so forth that would be willing to basically believe enough into a man that they would worship him as God and follow him. Well, often one of them say, well, what if a being came from another planet, came on the scene, and you had these UFO type entities or vehicles or whatever you want to call them showing up, having, it talks about fire coming out of the sky in the midst of men, as deluding signs or false signs and wonders, or signs that deceive mankind, which it does talk about those signs and wonders in verse 9 of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. So what are some of these signs? In Revelation, it goes into some of these things like fire coming out of the midst in the sight of men, so that they could be deceived. Well, wouldn't you look at that and say maybe it was a laser, or what he would consider fire at that time, laser coming out of one of these entities or UFOs, on CNN, ABC, whatever, Fox, whatever it is, major networks. So Al Jazeera, things like that. So what would you do? And a lot of people, I think, would easily fall victim to this and be deceived and say, matter of fact, many would think very quickly, oh, see there, you're believing in false religion, because here it is right now. Here's the guys who seeded our life here, transpermia, they seeded life here, and that's how the whole evolutionary thing, it would explain that jump, cross speciation, and things like that, people easily would believe it because they've been indoctrinated into evolutionary thought and principles. So I think that we could very well be seeing that possible great deception that will be used to deceive the world. Why else is this coming out at this particular time in history? Why not 50 years ago, 100 years ago, or 300 years ago, or whatever, or 100 years from now? No, it's just right now. At the same time, we see the national alignments that fit the model that we would see for Gog-Magog alliance. We see the European Union emerging. We see the events of technology that would fulfill what we would see with the mark of the beast. We see the communications that are there for us to have instantaneous communication around the world. SpaceX, that kind of stuff that's currently right now working on that, and we already have it pretty much in most modern countries, but pretty soon you'll have it everywhere with this whole idea of blanketing the globe with these satellites. I forgot the name of the company right now, but it's SpaceX is working with them in the process of doing that. They said if you start thinking about it, it'll be done within 10 years. I mean, it's amazing. So it would fall perfectly in line with the 7-year tribulation period and so forth. So my point being is that we very well could be seeing the emergence of this Antichrist figure. And I believe that as Christians, we will be here to see him. Now, there's some people, and I am a pre-tribulationist, and some people say, hey, that's kind of confusing. Watch my videos, I'll try to explain that to you. I think we will be here to see the Antichrist being revealed. I think he has to be on the scene to confirm a 7-year covenant, and it's the confirming of the 7-year covenant from Daniel 9 that is where we get the 7-year beginning point of the tribulation. So that final 7 years is a start to the end. It doesn't mean that the Antichrist doesn't come on the scene. In fact, he would have to be on the scene to confirm that 7-year covenant. I don't think he could show up today, confirm the covenant today. It's just not a reality. But he could very well be on the scene and then confirm a covenant very shortly thereafter. However long that is, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it probably wouldn't be long, I don't think. Because his goal, he knows his time is short, and it's actually a deception. He's not from another planet. He's not from Beta Reticuli or anything like that. He's the embodiment of Satan, who's the seed of Satan. He's basically doing the will of Satan, and so he's not going to be sitting here, thinking about how he could truly help mankind. His ideal is that he knows his time is short. He's going to get a certain amount of time to act, and he's going to come on the scene, I think, and act very quickly. And it'll be basically towards the process of knowing that Christ is returning within 7 years, and he's only got so much time to accomplish the things he wants to do and prepare for, the battle of Gog Magog, or battle of Armageddon and Megiddo. So that would be what I think is going to take place. So I think we will be here to see the revealing of the Antichrist, which means I think the rapture takes place after that point, in between the revealing of the Antichrist and the beginning of the tribulation. I think the rapture takes place there. As a pre-tribulationer, I think that's the case. If you look at it, I think it makes perfect sense. Especially if you watch the video on the rapture, so I explain why, how we really can't be in the tribulation period unless we're going to then fall into the category of being part of that group of tribulation saints. Some people say, well, that's the case, but then you have other problems that go along with that. So I won't go all to that right now, but watch the video, you'll understand where I'm coming from on that. And I think it's pretty solid. I've listened to many people, I've read a lot on it, and I think my view on it is pretty solid. Not saying it can't be wrong, because until we go through it, we don't know. We know in part. It's like Paul says, we prophesy in part, we know in part, and so forth. So we're all looking at the same source material, i.e. the Bible, and we're trying to draw from that the best we can. So, that's as I think I'm seeing it, I think it's right. So anyway, be looking, be ready, because, time's short. And if this is soon going to be the revealing of the Antichrist, and we see the Gog-Magog alliance, which means that war could take place at any time. And I'm talking about the one on Ezekiel 38 and 39. I did a video on that as well. You can watch that. So yeah, I think that if these events start to unravel, start to happen, look up, be ready. Like Christ talked about, be like the wise virgins. You don't go out on your own power. You go out on the power of the Holy Spirit, who's with you, and you're walking in that. The real challenges that we carry day to day in our flesh, the weaknesses of our humanity, but trusting in the Lord for everything, for our salvation and everything else, not self-righteousness. But this is big news. I thought this was, pretty big. I haven't even imagined that this would happen in our lifetime. But if it was going to happen, our rapture was going to happen, I kind of thought it'd be something like this, which I kind of allude to in other videos. But that it would be some type of extraterrestrial thing that makes sense, because how would you get all these religions around the world to worship one guy? But it makes perfect sense if this is a guy comes on the scene with extraterrestrial type, what they call extraterrestrial type vehicles flying around, which I don't think they are. I think it's a grand deception that's been going on for a long time in preparation for this event. Satan knows his hour is short. He knows it all seemed to start about the time frame Israel came back as a nation. So Israel knew that was Satan knew at that time that his time was quickly winding down because of the prophecies given about the return of the nation of Israel. So I think that's when you started seeing this, the whole Roswell thing event that took place. You saw right after that, you start seeing the abductions take place. Then you start seeing the old little gray alien type, entities and animal mutilations and this kind of stuff. Well, all this I think is a precursor to, this event, but it was all part of the plan to develop for this deception and this last days period of time that's going to take place. The only thing that makes sense how you could get the whole world to accept and worship a guy, and especially one that would go on to say, who is unlike the beast, who will make war with the beast, this kind of stuff. This kind of language that, you just wouldn't hear from nations about another person here on earth, not in that sense, so it may be a person who's already here on earth, but he'll be a person who then claims to have this extraterrestrial prodigy, and whatever, that he's, part of the whole extraterrestrial type of, a descendant of them, whatever it is, a connection with them of some sort, and that this revealing of him will be confirmed by this, these signs and wonders which he's going to deceive the world with. And you got to remember, he's going to have a spokesperson with him called the false prophet. If you get a chance, watch that video as well on the Antichrist and the false prophet. I go into that. Yeah, I think the hour is very short, very near. This is pretty big news. If it just falls out, nothing happens, then hey, it is what it is. But if it comes about and we see, like they're talking about, every 6 months they're going to give out more information, and then you start seeing other events happening, which we are seeing. We're starting to see that take place, like I said, with the national ailments, the wars, the rumors of wars and so forth. And now we're starting to see that take place, that we would see prophetically or expect prophetically to happen. Start thinking about those things and start looking into it, and you'll see that, I think the hour is very short, and I think the rapture could take place very soon. But first, I think you have the revealing of this Antichrist figure, and I think it's probably really near. I mean, really near. Probably sooner than most people can even think. I mean, if what they're doing right now is a beta test of that and rolling it out slowly, which was what I think they're doing, you could see within a very short period of time, maybe even next year, very short period of time, this whole announcement that, hey, they have had contact, they do have a representative from this other dimension or other planet or whatever it is, and that's where this whole Antichrist figure will be introduced. And he'll be at the UN, he'll be at the major countries of the world, and everybody will be ready to hold hands and kumbaya with him and so forth, and it could change the whole thing. And I think the Vatican will play a big part of that. I think they've kind of already not hidden on the Catholics, just simply saying that they've kind of already hinted around about that if there was extraterrestrial life, that they wouldn't have any problem giving communion and this kind of stuff. There's some guys who did some good work on that. I can't think of the name of it right now, but yeah, something Exo Vatican, I think is the name of that. I think it was Exo Vatican, I believe is the name of it. Can't think of the two gentlemen. One was, I think, Tom Horn, and the other one was, I can't think of his name. He died. He passed away maybe about a year ago, 2 years ago. I listened to a lot of what they talked about. I did not read that book, so I couldn't recommend it. I didn't read it, but I did look at their material. So at least that they were talking about it and stuff. So definitely interesting way they looked at it at that point early on. So Very intriguing, and they kind of looked at it as well as many other Christians have brought this out. So, this isn't something new. It's just amazing that it's happening at this specific time in history when we see all these other events happening with, so forth in the Middle East with Israel, Russia, the whole pipeline going to Europe, the European Union. You just think about everything that's going on, and the chaos happening in America, the threats of, you got the French leader basically saying that NATO is completely brain dead. You've got Erdogan making at least one of his associates, his ministers, making hints that they're going to leave NATO. That came out I think yesterday or the day before. This kind of stuff. So NATO could completely collapse, overnight. I mean, really quickly. So yeah, you definitely got America threatening full, 30,000 troops. I think it was out of Germany. You got Germany trying to contact the congressmen and ask them to keep them there. Yeah. So NATO's days may be numbered. Yeah, it's definitely different times, and we'll see what happens. But definitely be looking up. I think we're living in extraordinary times as Christians. It doesn't mean our day-to-day walk isn't any easier, but being focused on those events and being ready, I think is very it's a smart thing to do. We're commanded to do that, so we should always be looking to be ready. And yeah, I think the signs are there. I think rapture could happen at any time. So anyway, thought you might find it interesting, and then we'll pick up and ultimately on the Matthew books. But anyway, hope this is a blessing to you. God bless. Be safe, and if I don't see you in this world, I'll see you in the kingdom. God bless.